Good evening, everyone. I did a video a few days ago about, once again, another failed rapture prediction. Well, as I stated, how those who made those predictions and those who believed that they would come to pass, how they would react when it didn't happen. If you just scrub through YouTube, you'll find plenty of videos. I ran across several that were quite interesting, where there were individuals who were so certain that the rapture would occur that they sold their possessions, they cashed in life insurance policies. Now that makes no sense. Why would you cash in a life insurance policy? If you're not going to be here, what good would it be to cash it in? Another one that I saw was really quite sad. It was of an elderly woman, a devout Christian, and she believed that the rapture would come. And it didn't. And she was on camera crying her heart out. I mean, she was really bawling away because she had sold everything. And she thought she would be in heaven with the Lord. And she's still here on the earth. And I saw another one where individuals were rationalizing, just as I said that they would, and justifying why the rapture did not occur. It's all cookie cutter. It's the same rationale that they use time and time again when these predictions are made and they don't come to pass. I've shared with you in that last video that it's not possible to know when Christ's return is going to take place. And I gave the receipts. Jesus himself at Matthew chapter 24 verse 36, where he said that with regards to that day and hour, no one knows. The angels don't know, even he doesn't know. Only the Father knows. And Jesus at Matthew chapter 24 verse 42, where he said, therefore keep on the watch. Why? Because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. And I also tied into those two scriptures, something that the Watchtower teaches with regards to the 1914 date. Now the 1914 date, or the year 1914, for those of you who don't know, is a very pivotal year for Jehovah's Witness, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Why? Because almost all of the other prophetic utterances are built upon the truthfulness of that foundation of the 1914 date. Now, what is that date? Well, the Watchtower has been teaching prior to the year 1914. It will be in the year 1914, specifically in the fall of 1914. Incidentally, World War I ended in, I believe, November of 1914. So the teaching within the organization of the Watchtower is that it will be in the year 1914 that Jesus' return, or parousia, would occur invisibly. So the Watchtower believes that Jesus now reigns as king. If you ever attended any of the meetings in the Kingdom Halls, you will observe that at the start of every meeting, a prayer is given, and when that prayer is concluded, it is concluded with, in the name of our now reigning king, or in the name of our reigning king, Jesus Christ. Why? Because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that Jesus took kingdom power in the year 1914. Thus, he now reigns as king over the earth from the heavenly realm. I used to believe that. I no longer believe that, based on what Jesus says at Matthew chapter 24 verse 36, Matthew chapter 24 verse 42, and if you want to, go to Acts chapter 1 verse 7. And the line of reasoning here is that how can an organization of men know something that Jesus says that even he himself doesn't know? The angels don't know. Only the Father knows. So the Watchtower says that it knows when Jesus returned in the year 1914. This is a problem, a major problem. So I choose to listen to my Lord, my Master, the Hamashiach, that is the Messiah, the Christ, rather than human beings or any organization of human beings. And I'm not here to disparage any organization within Christianity or the people within them. I'm simply saying, as for myself, me, I choose to follow my head. No organization on earth is my head. Per what the Apostle Paul wrote at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, my head, my leader, my Lord is Christ himself, not an organization of men that has stationed itself above the masses. And I'm not just referring to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, because all of them, all these religious organizations that claim to represent Christ, well, for one, they all claim they teach the truth. We're talking more than 45,000 contending organizations. For one, they all claim to teach Christ. They all claim to teach the truth. Yet they contend with one another and they teach Christ differently. If they taught him the same, then they would all come together under one house, right? But they don't. They teach him differently. Some teach that he is God. Others teach that he is not God. Some teach that Jesus taught eternal torment for those who do not accept him as their Lord and Savior. Others do not teach that. So there's a plethora of different teachings within these 45, that is more than 45, contending Christian denominations. So which one of them are you to believe? I say none of them. You believe the one that God sent, that is his Son, and commanded us to listen to at Luke chapter 9, verse 35. God did not command us to listen to man-made organizations, man-made religions. These religions were stood up by men, not by God. God did not send us religion. He sent us his Son. And with regard to his Son, God says, "This is my Son. Listen to him." And it is for that reason, since those who claim to follow Christ, these Christians, have not obeyed God's command to listen to his Son, but has given preference to listening to the religious organizations of men, is why there is so much confusion. Rather than obeying God's command and listening to his Son and listening to these teachings such as the rapture, is why that woman I just mentioned, this elderly woman, was drenched in tears because she sold everything she had on a false hope that Jesus would come and take her into heaven. And she's not alone. There are many like that. And here's the thing. More false rapture teachings will continue. They've been going on for decades now. People believe them so strongly that they sell their possessions rather, and they just wait for the Lord to come and they meet him in the air. It doesn't happen. It is not going to happen. Jesus never taught a rapture. He said it is not possible for any human being to know when he is going to return. So therefore, keep on the watch, because you do not know when your Lord is going to come. And if you don't know when his return is going to take place, how can you predict the rapture? It's not what I'm saying. That's what he says. How can one read from Matthew chapter 24, verse 36, Matthew chapter 24, verse 42, and Acts chapter 1, verse 7, and not get it? Those are not my words. Those are Jesus' words. Yet, many of these Christians obviously are ignoring what Jesus taught because they believe in the rapture. Those three scriptures alone, or utterances from Christ, are rapture killers. We don't know on what day or hour the Lord is going to return. So we have to keep on the watch. Stay awake. Don't fall or go into a slumber. Sadly, in my opinion, 99.9% of the so-called believing world has fallen asleep. It is in a slumber. I know that is a very bold statement to make. But think about that parable or illustration Jesus gave of the narrow gate, narrow road, wide gate, wide road. A majority of the masses are not going to cling to the truth. The majority are going to be deceived. Jesus also alluded to that at Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, where he said, "Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come on the basis of his name, teaching," that is, truthfully teaching, "that he is the Messiah." See, the way that scripture reads from Jesus is that, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come on the basis of my name, teaching that I am the Christ." Many take that wrong. They're not reading it correctly. Jesus is not saying that there'll be those coming out of the woodworks in future days saying that they themselves are the Christ. He's saying that many will come on the basis of his name, truthfully teaching that he, Christ himself, Jesus, is the Messiah, is the Christ. And is that not what Christianity does? Christianity does truthfully teach that Jesus is the Messiah, that is the Christ. But as Jesus says there, will deceive many. Thus today, we stand at a place where the masses have been deceived. Christianity, something Jesus never uttered. Jesus never told his disciples to be called Christians. Show me where that's written. It's not there. But something has stood up, and it truthfully teaches that Jesus is the Messiah for the purpose of deceiving many, deceiving the masses. That's where we stand now. Now, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. That is not my place. However, I highly recommend that one looks at what they're in. Look at Christianity and look at its heinous history with regards to its treatment to the human family and even to this very day. The language of the devil is not the truth. It is the lie. So if you go back to what Jesus said at Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come on the basis of his name, claiming that he is the Christ," that is, Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, "but will deceive many." You put one and one together. I know, I'm fully aware that this is not what mainstream Christianity teaches, and I'm fully aware that this is not what most Christians do not want to hear. I've spoken to Christians for years. They do not want to hear that there is no rapture. Nothing I can do about that. And neither would I want to do anything about that. They would have to reach their own conclusions. And also with regards to the 1914 teaching, I've spoken to Jehovah's Witnesses about this. I've spoken to elders within the organization about this. I related a story of one elder who became very angry at me because he felt that I was being disobedient to the organization. And he was correct. Yes, I was being disobedient to the organization, but I was being obedient to God and listening to his son. Where his son says, "You do not know on what day your Lord will come." But I found it odd, but not too surprising, why this elder who's been in the organization for a very long time would become upset at me because I was actually reasoning with him, like the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul reasoned from the scriptures. In fact, the Watchtower has an entire publication entitled Reasoning from the Scriptures. That's all I was doing. I was simply reasoning from the scriptures, but he did not want to go there, because in his mind, everything was the organization. And my words to him were, well, what about what God's Son taught? You're mentioning the organization far too many times, as opposed to mentioning the one that God sent and commanded us to listen to. The organization of the Watchtower means nothing to me. It doesn't. What does reign supreme in my life is obeying God's command given at Luke chapter 9, verse 35, and obeying that command and listening to his Son. It's like what the Apostle Peter told the members of the Sanhedrin and the high priest at Acts chapter 5, verse 29. We must obey God rather than human beings. So like Peter, who said, I must obey God as ruler rather than human beings, I must obey God's command given at Luke chapter 9, verse 35, to listen to his Son. Why would members of the Watchtower not want me to do that? Why would Christianity in general not want me to obey God? Because it leads me to conclude that they are not obeying God. They're obeying certain things, but they're not obeying God in the entirety, let me put it that way. They obey certain things that they want to obey, but they ignore almost everything else and a vast many things. So that woman, let me go back to her before I conclude here, who was crying, you know who was responsible for that? The false teachings that issue forth out of Christianity. They owe her an apology, but they will never do that. If I can only sit down with her for an hour, I will console her, and then I will talk to her about how false that teaching is. And I would show her the receipts, so she would have those receipts in her pocket, and she can pull them out and refer to them for herself, and then she can show others the receipts. There will never be a rapture.